and welcome back to the Mancunian Candidates here on FabRadioInternational.com and also on YouTube. We have a second stream going because we were banned for a short period of time, but we're back. State of play at the moment in the election is Joe Biden 209, Donald Trump 118. I'm saying I think Trump will win. Mike isn't so sure.
No, it's too early. The problem you've got here is you've got the two biggies that are about to land, and that will bump up Trump no end. You're going to get 38 and 29 hit the deck, and you that's imminent. I mean, Florida has been called by Fox News. They would, but they've not been too bad. They've not played dirty around this time. The problem you've got here is those two are so big that'll bump him up to that point, and then you've still got some of these other states to come. It's too close to call. It really is. I mean, Biden can still win here.
Biden has to win Arizona.
Biden has to win Arizona or it's game over. Now, we went from the beginning where it looked like Trump was going to get hammered because Texas was blue, Florida was blue, everywhere's blue. It's bizarre how quickly it's all turned. But I've got some issues over this, and I'm sure we'll have a discussion. And when Joe comes on in a minute,
in a few minutes, Maine is looking like it could be Biden's.
Right,
so it will be close. It will be close.
It will be close. It will. But I've got an opinion on this, and it's the same opinion that I had about the democratic process again. You had somebody that the Democratic faithful had chosen, and you engineered a situation where he was shafted. You had a situation where in 2016 the party faithful had chosen someone.
Yeah.
And here we go again. Here we fucking go again. And it's even if they win tonight, it's a fucking disaster. There's 230,000 corpses trailing behind Donald Trump. All the problems that you've had, all the disquiet, the problems, the Black Lives Matter, the unrest, the civil disobedience, the angst in the country, everything. I mean, they can't fucking pull it off.
No. Because
obviously there's only one answer, and that is they didn't fire people up. This candidacy with him and Kamala Harris, he didn't fire them up.
Shall we say he's too old?
I don't think it's that.
You don't think so?
No, because that doesn't explain Bernie, does it? Doesn't explain Bernie. Bernie's old. Bernie had a fire. Bernie had ideas. Bernie had healthcare. He was going to fix stuff. Yes,
me and you.
He's having senior moments.
We both had commented on that.
He's having senior moments.
Anyway, let's go over, hopefully, to New York, and we can have a quick chat to our friend and fellow candidate, Joe from Queens. Joe, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, Joe.
I'm actually in Queens now.
Oh, good. Well, there you go. You're living up to your expectations with your name. Well, what a shit show this is turning out to be, eh? I mean, even if by some miracle now the Dems pull it off and Biden pulls it off, they shouldn't be a struggle with 220,000 230,000 COVID corpses, all this unrest, the problems that they've been, kids in cages, blah, blah, blah. I could go on with a list of this stuff, and still shafting Bernie and installing their own preferred choice seems to have fucked up in the face again, doesn't it?
It appears that that could be the case.
It ain't over, but this shouldn't be close. We shouldn't be sat here like this, should we?
No, and this is a great example of why I've often advocated for what could be described as revolution. We can't continue to play the middle road and put forward middle of the road candidates who are trying to appeal to people who have no interest in being appealed to. The forces that were that we're fighting against right now, they're not interested in learning. They're not interested in advancing. They're not interested in how things can be done or what systems could be put in place that could create positive change. Yeah. They're interested in protecting their wealth. They're interested in protecting their positions, and they're interested in continuing the suppression of people across our nation.
I agree. This is what I was discussing just then on the break. I just wondered what your opinion is, and I'm quite pissed off about this because I actually think that a lot of people are going to die if the wrong result comes in tonight. A lot of people are going to die because I do not have faith in what's going on. And if he does, I'm sorry, the Trump chant, which was a disgrace, fire Fauci, fire Fauci, crazy. It's like the sort of stuff that was going on in Germany in the late 30s, you know? And
it's really disappointing, and it's really scary to see.
Yeah, so I say this, the only way to pick this apart is, from my perspective, we start out in 2016 and the party faithful clearly chose somebody that they wanted to go after. They would follow into the fire that they had faith in, and they would go out, and it fired up the base. And the DNC did everything to engineer to get their preferred person in, who then brought them to a fucking disastrous result. Then we get but what happened with the Republicans? They had their preferred people, but the party faithful, for whatever reason, went with Donald Trump. And instead of what the DNC did, they just went, okay, right, they've chosen this guy, we hate him, but we'll run with him, and they got a success. And here we are again, 2020. The party faithful were on the way to choosing their preferred choice again, and the DNC go, oh, Super Tuesday's coming up. Hi, Pete. Hi, Amy. Any chance you can drop out, and we'll sort you out with some cabinet seats? Then we shaft them, and again, the party faithful are supporting Trump. The Republicans are running with the party faithfuls, the base's chosen candidate, the person they want to go, for whatever reason, good or bad. The DNC are running a compromised candidate again, aren't they?
They are. They absolutely are. And they're failing. They're failing across the board. Yeah. And you're seeing it in local results. Something that is happening right now here locally, there has been a contentious race for a district that includes parts of Staten Island and Brooklyn, which is one of the very few conservative leaning districts in New York City. And one of the most publicized races here has been for that district's seat, between a woman named Nicole, I'm not sure if I'm saying her last name correctly, Maliatakis, and a gentleman named Max Rose, who's a Democrat. And the police, again, NYPD organizations, law enforcement organizations have been running ads bashing Max Rose, claiming that he wants to defund the police and make our communities dangerous and release criminals in the streets, and all of this fear-mongering that the Republicans have been doing nationwide. And it appears that the Republican conservative has taken that election, which, if that can happen here in Brooklyn, and I'm losing faith here. I'm fearing for the future.
I mean, this is a very similar situation to what we have here in the UK, where you can't bump into anybody that voted for Boris Johnson and the Conservative. You're bumping into people, and clearly a lot of people in the north of England did vote for them. And if you go, right, who voted for him? Everyone's going, don't know what you're talking about. And it's the same over there. Maybe this hidden, I thought it was overblown, but this hidden Trump voter that's ashamed of the selfish choice they're making at the ballot box when they're asked who you're voting for. They're not honest. honest. I don't know, but
they are ashamed of themselves. That's why if you try and engage with the majority of them, they'll tell you things like, "Oh, I don't talk about politics. We don't talk about politics here. We don't. This isn't an appropriate conversation. This isn't the right forum." So on and so forth. They love to hide in the shadows, and they have dark intentions, and they have dark hearts, and they are ashamed of themselves, as they should be, because they don't have it in them to wake up and do the research and better themselves and realize that they have the ability and the power to help the people around them and to help their communities. It's here, one of the major differences that I have to point out between our system and the system in the UK is that we will see immediate results of this in the form of funding to police departments and empowerment of police enforcement over our communities, and you'll see it rear its ugly head in the form of more deaths in the streets, more arrests, and an expansion of the industrial prison complex system, and Republicans leading the charge on keeping our people oppressed.
I wish I could disagree. I wish I could argue with you. I agree. I know you're right.
Joe, question I want to put to you. What impact do you think the QAnon has made on this election? Anything whatsoever?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. I personally have not encountered anybody who would fall into that category, and it seems to be a really big part of people's mindsets. I think more than anything, it has made it more difficult for people to obtain accurate and factual information. Because as conspiracy theorists take the lead in providing information to people who are looking for answers, who might be confused, for those people that go down that rabbit hole, it's tough to get them to come back. And
in many ways, it's like Houdini, isn't it? You can't believe it, but he's done it. It's just a little bit of magic sprinkled on the whole thing. Some of it makes sense, so it makes sense to you because you don't know the answer. Like you say, you don't know. You're looking for answers. I think over here, certainly regarding the pandemic, it's had an immense effect. The whole, obviously not just QAnon, but I mean the whole conspiracy world has an immense effect on people on social media, in real life. There's arguments going on everywhere over nonsense. I mean, that's the thing we talk about in America, that divide is happening here because of that type of them lies, really.
The problem you've got, I mean, I used to watch, I didn't watch it like a fan. You watch things out of fascination, like Sun Tzu, The Art of War, know your enemy. That's why I watch Fox News. And I used to watch Alex Jones just out of disbelief. Some of the crap, the water's turning, the frog's gay, and all this lunacy that he used to come out with. And do you know what? He did that sort of show. Now, when you look at clips of him back then, now it doesn't seem quite as out there, because the conspiracists are front and centre because of the guy that's been in the Oval Office, and he has legitimised these fucking lunatics.
Well, there's a great quote in the beginning of Moby Dick, which is one of my favorite novels. And the protagonist is trying to find himself, which is why that's how he ends up on the ship. And at some point he says something to the effect, and I'm paraphrasing here, he says something to the effect of, the simplest thing in the world for a man to do is to pretend he knows something that nobody else knows. And I think conspiracy theories, and especially when you see what I've seen anyway, out of QAnon, is a means for somebody who maybe doesn't necessarily know where to find accurate information, but also is looking to feel important as if they know something, when in fact, maybe they haven't put in the work.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're all guilty of declaring things late at night in the pub. We're all guilty of declaring things in the midst of conversations that may or may not be true. But the amount of attention that these people have gotten at this point, it's like a giant popularity contest where people are latching onto it, I think.
There's a problem where, I mean, these things have a spectrum. You get on you get at one side, some people believe in the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, and then you move a bit further along, and then you've got people who believe in, for example, like there was definitely another gunman and the grassy knoll, and then you start to get to the stuff that got Alex Jones into trouble, and that stuff like Sandy Hook, they're all false flag actors. The shootings didn't take place. 9/11 was a put-up job. All these things.
Just interrupt you there for one moment. The Trump campaign has objected to Fox News calling Arizona for Joe Biden already.
Fox News, he's objecting to Fox News as he fucking hell the world is.
Fox News are now
like
calling Arizona for Biden, which is a massive.
Yeah, I know that is.
I'm sorry.
One.
What?
Arizona's.
What did you just say? They declared.
Fox News have declared Arizona
to
Biden, and the big fucking baby's having an epileptic fit over it.
Trump's not happy.
Well, I mean, that's a bit of good news here then, right?
Yeah. Listen, I've not give up. You know, some people jumped a bit early. I've not give up yet. You know, I think
there's a lot of mail-in ballots to be counted. There is a lot of different, forces at work here, and we're not going to see the results until at least another day, I would say.
I know, but Joe, it's 4:30 a.m. here, and I just wanted to feel a bit happier right now.
You should feel happier now because even Fox News are calling it.
Oh no.
Trump's not happy.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was all right though. Trump was all right when they called Florida when only 92% of the vote was in. I'm just saying the guy is a fucking asshole. And what's annoying about this is if it's this close, he's going to straight away. He's got the powder there ready and the gunpowder. He's going to set it off on the voter fraud, whatever. But if he wins, it'll have been a fair election.
The latest score at the moment, I call it a score as well, is 209 college votes to Joe and 118 to Donald Trump.
But the 118 to Donald Trump, the mother load is about to hit because you're going to get the 29 from Florida and you're going to get the 38 from Texas, and that's going to bump that up. It's horrible.
I do have something else to make you feel good at this wonderful hour of 4:30 a.m. Which, come on, you're in Manchester. 4:30 a.m. is actually just the start of the evening, isn't it? So
correct.
It was until it closed down.
Yeah. Not now it is.
You know, we have had an election result come in here again locally, right next door. Our neighbors in New Jersey have done the right thing and legalized marijuana, which means that this will certainly happen soon here in New York.
Yeah.
And people will stop being arrested and criminalized and having lives destroyed over such a silly thing.
Yeah, well, if this...
So that's a bit of good news.
It certainly is, and if this goes the wrong way, at least you can just get stoned for a few weeks and just forget about it. I mean...
Yeah,
no,
I'm Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has secured her second term, as well as Cory Booker.
Quite
so
easily,
we do have people that are still in there fighting the good fight.
Yeah, I mean, the Senate, it's close. I don't think you're going to get it, though. I think you're one short or two short at the look of it. I mean, the problem is you started out, you're actually one down because of the Democrat that's lost his seat, bloody Doug Jones, you know. But that was always odd because you got it because they ran that fucking lunatic, didn't they? And he was and he won because of that. It's just a shame.
You know, another result to consider here is under Donald Trump's presidency, more Americans have actively registered and become dues-paying members of the Democratic Socialists of America than any other point in our history. So, in effect, the more control that Republicans take, the more people are inclined to take action and organize and join forces with organizations on the left. And maybe we're going to have to suffer and endure through another period of time under the control of the Republican Party. However, the fight will always go on.
Well, the problem here is going back to what I was talking about before, where if you just have a Democratic Party, if you just have a party to the left or the centre left or whatever, just not the Republicans that will be fairer, that are just going to respect the views of the people. Like, going back to it, twice they've manufactured their own candidate to run, and definitely, even if they scrape through tonight, they got away with it lucky. This should have been the biggest landslide in electoral history. This should have been huge with the voter turnout. And you see, when Hillary was the preferred candidate when Obama went forward, but on that occasion, it was very difficult, and they let the person who had the momentum run, and you got a landslide. And, I prefer it. I mean, he let me down. I mean, this is the guy, he went to Flint when they were poisoning people, and he pretended to be drinking water that he wasn't drinking. I mean, Obama's no saint. But he won an election, and at least while he was in, you got Obamacare, which isn't perfect, but it's a start. I just worried for you. I want you to have healthcare, and I just can't stand it. I thought, at least if you get in, because that vote's coming up. They've got her lined up to sign it off, and you're going to lose healthcare coverage for 20 million people in the middle of this pandemic. What's going to happen, Joe?
It's going to be a disaster, and it's going to be marked in history as a very dark period in this country's history, where the rest of nations around the world, despite having problems, I know that the national healthcare system in your country is not perfect. However, I could fly to London tomorrow and have a medical procedure done for possibly less money than I can here in my own country.
Well, more importantly, you could come here tomorrow and then be hit by a car by accident, and you'll be rushed to hospital, cared for, and you won't get a bill. You won't get anything. You won't get any bill.
I've experienced it firsthand. I've been to hospital in the UK, and I've been to emergency care situations in Italy, in Canada. It's an entirely different experience. And even with healthcare, the system here, as it's currently structured, is designed to generate profits for a certain select number of corporations who are, of course, funding the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, to be fair. And that's the primary barrier in us receiving what we deserve as human beings and as citizens of this supposed greatest nation in the world and wealthiest nation in the world.
Yeah, there shouldn't be anybody there. Like, here, we pay money in. It goes into a pot. That pot is used to run the NHS. We do have fund managers that are maybe on 80 grand a year or something, that are running loads of hospitals and all that. They're well paid, but they're not paid 2 million bonuses in shares. They're not paid stock options. They're not done. No. Well, it's run to provide the care. You pay somebody a good wage to run a lot of hospitals, a trust, because you want them to do a good job. So, because it's a very stressful job running loads of hospitals. But there's nobody on fat cat wages. There's nobody on CEO wages. The directors, I read about one of your healthcare. They see these insurance companies. They've got a board. All of them are on wages. They're all on bonuses. Then you've got shareholders that need paying. There's so much money has to be paid out before the health is distributed.
mind you that the vast majority of not only healthcare industry corporations, but industries in America across all sectors are currently under the rule of what are called imperial CEOs, which you guys, I'm sure, understand, but maybe for some of the listeners here, they might not realize that our American corporate system has been restructured over the past few decades now to allow for presidents of companies, to be chairman of the board. So that's why you see, CEO and president of company XYZ, which in effect means they have the ability to control that board and make the determination and have the deciding vote in what their own salary as the CEO or president of that company is going to be. And it's, with a system like that, it's no surprise that you see such a gap in wealth between the upper class and the rest of us.
Yeah,
until we can break that apart, which is something that Elizabeth Warren has made a career out of fighting against, by the way.
Yeah,
which is one of the reasons why she was exciting as a candidate, because she's actually been taking on the structure from the inside.
I know.
To break down that system specifically.
Well, you had to there, didn't you? If they imagine this, that tonight it was Bernie and Elizabeth Warren on the ticket. Imagine that. Just it would for be, 1 minute.
We talked about this. That would have been, if we had Bernie and Elizabeth Warren in either direction.
Yeah.
President and vice president, either one in either position,
either way,
we would be seeing a completely different environment right now, where the left would have organized and activated and rallied in a way that you do not see with Biden.
I know you can. It is. You get a long way. They've got this idea that the dead centre, a vanilla candidate, is not going to rock the boat, is not going to be perceived to be that bad, and you can't pick up holes in. Whereas I think you should. Look at Trump. People hate him, and look at how successful he's been at getting elected.
Yeah, hate him and love him. Man.
Yeah, I know, with equal measure. Well, I think there must be some of that in here. I mean, you need a rock star. Get Tom Hanks to run. I don't know. Just do something. My God, this is crazy, this. We can't just keep doing this. This is madness. And for me, if you're wondering why I'm getting also fired up, I don't want Boris Johnson and Donald Trump running everything into the ground for the next 2 years, because we're going to crash out of Europe now. If Donald Trump does squeak through tonight, then he will just do a deal with Donald Trump. We'll crash out of Europe, and then the next time a president comes in that doesn't like our right-wing government, we'll be up shit creek, as we say over here.
It may change by then. May have changed.
I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard being on the left. It's really hard.
It ain't easy being green.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting to keep having nights like this where it should be. The guy's a fucking monster, really. No?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, and it has, to be perfectly honest, nothing whatsoever to do with his presidency. I consider Donald Trump a monster from having spent a lifetime living in New York City and watching his behavior as a fellow New Yorker, which is despicable.
I keep forgetting he's a New Yorker. He just doesn't.
He's not anymore. We pulled his card. He's no longer welcome here, and he's aware of that, which is why he doesn't come here no more.
So he moved to Miami. Or was it Florida?
He's Mr. Florida now, and he can keep it.
Yeah, he can stay there.
He can hang out down there with the rest of his, senior retirement home friends.
Yeah. Well, there's another weird one. Florida, it looks like definitely that's in his column. And you've got a governor there. Yeah, Santos. Santos has run it into the ground. He's got more COVID deaths on his hand than you can count. He opened up the state, no mask mandates, no social distancing. He let nightclubs open in the middle of this, and it's still gone to the Republicans.
it's
what
really
have you got to do
just,
to lose?
Yeah, that's unfortunate down there. The fact is, there's a long history down there. It's complex and it's difficult to explain and understand without maybe possibly offending some people. But you hear a lot of
offend away. We've nothing to lose.
You hear a lot of talk about the Latin vote in Florida. The fact is that there's a very large number of Cuban communities in Florida, and these are Cubans who experienced the worst that communism has to offer, and are absolutely terrified of all socialist leaning policies, because they've seen how bad it can get when you go full communist.
But Joe, bloody hell, Kamala Harris, a socialist. That's what amuses me when I hear that, she's going to pull it all to that. You think she's a socialist? I said to Tom tonight, I was arguing away, you think she's a socialist? She would be a member of the Tory party over here.
Yeah, Donald Trump has been openly calling Joe Biden and the socialists. And the fact is, the reason why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are in the position they're in is because they are absolutely not socialists in any way.
If they were socialists, we wouldn't be having this squeak to get to the finish line. People would have understood what they were voting for. They're so centrist, it's painful. And I said this was what worried me. And I was just
I'll make it even more simple. If they were socialists, I would support them.
Yeah, I know. I get it. It's just that
that word, and people are scared in America of the word socialism. Scared.
Yeah. They've got
what it means.
Socialist institutions.
You're going to make things better by giving me health care and basic essentials for life.
Yeah. I think people would. People want to live like this. I said to Tom before. I said the disappointing thing here is no matter what happens tonight, this is going to be a nightmare, because if Trump squeaks in, it's going to be a even worse than last time. And if he, at this stage now, say Biden does get through with Harris, it's going to be that close that he contests it. It's going to go on for ages. You're going to get... It's not a rebuke. It's not a rebuke now. And you needed a rebuke tonight. You needed a rebuke so that he was a one-term aberrant president that didn't reflect the values of the United States and its citizens. And now it's not that certain.
Unfortunately, he does reflect the values of a large number of people, as I said earlier.
That's the bit that hurts.
I've been thinking a lot about the first call-in I made, and you mentioned something about Tom Anderson accusing Black Lives Matter and equating them of being a terrorist organization. I can't get that out of my head. It's
the terrorist
so sad to hear that.
Well, he says, but I hear that off a lot of people, and they just, because it stops them from addressing the problem. These people don't want to admit that they've any part of their life. Not just talking him. I mean, the people that take this sort of view. A lot of them, they want to think that because they're talented and uniquely talented, they've got on in life. They don't want to admit that they had any benefits that helped them, that gave them an advantage over anybody else, that they're not as clever as they'd like to think they are, in my opinion.
It's just really disappointing to hear any human being talk that way. And
it's crazy.
I don't know if my response earlier was the correct response or not, but I really would encourage him to please come meet some new people and talk to some new people and get some different perspectives, because the fact of the matter is Black Lives Matter is not in any way, shape, or form a terrorist organization. Black Lives Matter is a movement that is the result of hundreds of years of oppression. And we have to change this. Yeah. We have to do something about this. And for him to make a comment like that or equate them in any way to such negative thoughts is
it was
terrifying.
Very thoughtfully dismantled as well by Rayner. It was very thoughtfully dismantled by the.
I'm sure she would do a better job than I can.
Oh, she did. Well, the added advantage is she's black, so she's like, yeah, I can tell you my experience of that, and yeah, her problem was it was quite sad because she's very intelligent, and I was hearing it, and there's a sadness in her voice, almost like she's a fighter. She's out there tonight. She left to go to a demonstration, and you've got all this fight in her, but she's basically saying that this isn't going to get fixed. And she's young. She's younger than all of us, and she's saying this ain't going to get fixed in my lifetime. That was the impression I got from her. Do you think? Yeah, and that made me so sad that she can't even think maybe in 20 years, 30 years it'll get better.
That's the saddest part of it. I have to explain this to my sons, and I've had to have these conversations with my sons, both of whom are of mixed race, ethnicity, and question all of these things. Sure. And I have to try to explain them. I have a 15-year-old and a 22-year-old, and I wish I could tell them things are going to be better.
Well, do you remember I don't presume anybody's age on here. I'm just saying the Rodney King incident and the problems then. And this has been a lifelong battle that's gone on longer than any of us have been alive. I know. And I remember when I was quite young then, and I saw that and I thought, oh my God, dear me. If you'd have told me that I'd be sat here in 2020 and that is really small scale, that incident, compared to some of the horrific stuff I've seen this year, especially the latest one, a mentally ill person with a knife gets shot multiple times again.
And in this country.
Oh, and in this country,
I get that. The whole situation.
Oh, yeah, there's racism all over the place.
It's a growing.
It just keeps getting worse and more violent, and it is sad, and it wears you down. Yeah. And it is going to be a fight that we have to unfortunately face, apparently, for the rest of our lives.
It's very sad.
That's what makes these conversations so important.
Yeah, it is. We all need to do what we can, and we all will, I'm sure.
And on that important note, we're going to say our goodbyes to you tonight. Thank you so much for being here through the night. It's been quite amazing. I don't know how it's going to turn out. What's the latest?
I don't think that we're going to get to call this tonight, and that saddens me because it's the first time that we've been in that position. We've always liked to get a projection. This is just crazy tonight. But don't give up, Joe. Thank you so much for amplifying our voices. Thank you so much for lifting our voices. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of this. And I look forward to speaking with you guys again in the near future.
Probably next week, Joe, or the week after, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to get some sleep.
Very good.
At some point.
All right, very good.
You take care, Joe.
All right, boys.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The wonderful Joe from Queens as well. That's the name we're going to give out. Joe from Queens. That's it. He keeps himself to himself.
Well, you're an activist, and he's very outspoken in his views, and some people find that offensive. So it's better to not rock the boat.
Yeah, we'll be back shortly with our final conversation with Tom in Alaska.
Yeah.
And we'll have a roundup of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's looking too close to call for some people.
We won't get the answer
Joe,
tonight.
The score at the moment on the doors is Joe 209. I say Joe, don't use the word Biden. And Donald Trump 118. We'll be back shortly. Take care.
And welcome back to the Mancunian Candidates. And we're losing the will to fucking live. But we're still here. It's 5:15 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, which means it's around about midnight over on the East Coast. And the results are coming in thick and fast, although there are a couple of states that are not going to be declaring tonight because they've just run out of time with all the postal votes. Now, it's still in the wind. The two biggies have been called by Fox News. There is no way now that Biden is going to get to any chance of getting Florida or Texas. We have a load of states that he can get that still give him a path to victory, but this is very much in the wind. This is not the result that people were expecting. The mainstream, the media, the bookies, anybody was expecting tonight. And yet again, the Democrats have ran a candidate that was their preferred choice, not the overall initial choice of the voters. And in their wisdom, they went with this. It's not the first time. They ran with Obama, who was the people's sort of choice. They had their preferred candidate, and that was Hillary. And they got a landslide and another landslide. Then they interfered. And they made sure that Bernie didn't run and that they gave Hillary her anointed slot. I'm nothing against Hillary Clinton, but I did think that was a bit weird at the time. But I thought, well, they know what they're doing, don't they? But it didn't seem to be the case because Trump got in. Now here we are. We have got 230,000 dead. It's a massive hurdle for any incumbent president to get over that he's in the middle of a pandemic. And they have again, on the Super Tuesday stitch up with Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg, where they literally got them to drop out and tell their candidates to vote for Joe Biden at the time when Bernie was sweeping it across the states. We then end up here tonight.
Well,
am I right? I don't know. Them are my observations of this, and it's getting old now. It's getting old. You get sick of losing, don't you?
Minnesota has just been called. I've gone to Biden.
It's gone to Biden. You see, that pulls it back a bit.
Pulls it back.
But is it enough? No, it's not. This is going to the wire. I mean, Minnesota.
Well, for those of you who have been watching all evening, excuse me for my last session. I was coughing a bit.
Yeah.
It's just because it's late. It's nothing to do with COVID. I've just taken a cough tablet, and hopefully that little tickle will go away.
Well, maybe it's a cure for it. Maybe you can phone Trump up if he gets in, and you can get him to cough tablets, get rid of it. Minnesota is no big surprise. The Democrats, again, I'm sorry to keep going over the history, but 2008, they won it by 10%, the Democrats in the Obama wave. Again, 8% win in 2012. And last year, when Trump did his surprise victory, the Democrats still retained it by 2%. So the fact that they've kept that is no big surprise. Like I say, you've got an incumbent with 230,000 corpses to deal with. I mean,
Hawaii as well has gone to Biden.
Right.
Like Mike says, it will not be called tonight, but we'll have a fairly good idea in the next, 15, 20
we'll give some thoughts on it, but I can't call it.
No.
And that's a problem, because that is something that I pride this show on doing that. We've called pretty much every election we've covered in the 9 years we've been doing this show, and we've done it before other people. And we are wanting to do that tonight. But we're not going to just do it for the sake of it. No. This is too close. It's going to go through the night, and you're not going to get clarity till sometime in the middle of tomorrow. And that's all you can do.
For our normal listeners, it's not a Punch and Judy show today. It's a bit more serious than that. Talking serious people, let's have our final chat with Tom Anderson over in Alaska. Tom. Hello, Tom. You may be washing up at the moment.
Hi, guys.
Oh, I thought he was washing the pots then.
He's back.
Well, it's getting close, Tom. Very, very close. I thought it's going... Well, I still think it's going to Trump, but it's getting closer than I thought.
I think there are some surprising states here who may have a couple of college votes that may swing it one way or the other. Anyway, I suspect that Tom is more relieved than he's letting on. I'm just saying, and I think that I'm definitely in much more of a state than I thought it'd be. So maybe me and Tom have met in the middle tonight. I don't know.
Maybe so, guys. Iowa just goes to Trump. Of course, Arizona, which I was not surprised. I predicted Arizona. We knew that the astronaut, retired Mark Kelly, NASA astronaut, was beating Martha McSally. So why would Trump not lose as well and Biden on the coattails of astronaut Kelly? So I'm not shocked there. Iowa goes to Trump. Mm-hmm. I think Trump takes Michigan, but almost for sure Pennsylvania and Ohio. And so then the question is,
Pennsylvania, have they stopped counting, though, in a couple of these states? In Pennsylvania, I think
well, I know that you led into this segment where we're not going to know till tomorrow, but I think Trump gets Michigan and Pennsylvania and Ohio. And I called that when we first began the show. If I'm right, who knows? Mm-hmm. But Wisconsin is the biggie. If we can get Wisconsin and Nevada, Trump's won.
Yeah,
easily.
Of course. What are your thoughts on that? Are you ready to say that you think it's going to Trump?
No, because I don't know about Wisconsin and Nevada, and I don't know if he gets Ohio and Pennsylvania and Michigan. Is that it? I mean, do you guys know? If he gets Ohio and Michigan.
He's got I think that if Biden doesn't get Nevada, he's as we say here in the UK, buggered. I would think, but I don't know. This is a weird map. This is a really strange map. I mean, normally I'm that much of a geek. I've been watching your election since I was 11 years old, and I've not seen a map quite like this. It's quite weird. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on.
I'm looking at you're looking at Fox News, right? That's the best reporting.
Well, I'm looking at a lot of them, and the map. I mean, the map it's not normally you get that blue wall, and then sometimes it breaks. Like Trump managed to smash that wall last time. That's why he won. And here it looks like he's managed to retain that, but still the Democrats are peppered around enough. I mean, when you look at it's quite odd. I don't know what to make of it. And then obviously you've got these states that are typically Democrat, and you've got the odd one that, I mean, I couldn't believe it at the beginning of tonight when Texas went out of the gates and went blue. And I thought, that's in line with exactly the landslide that I was expecting. Although even with the landslide that I thought they'd be, because of you've got to remember, last time he won, Hillary was only a percentage point ahead when she went in. And there were a lot of polls giving 10% nationally, 8% nationally. They really, some of these swing states, he was at 6%, 4%. And to me, with a margin of error, you couldn't have pulled this off.
Montana has just gone to Trump, which is not surprising.
It's not. I mean, I've got to say.
Now you guys, and as I understand your segments, so once you're done with me, you'll continue through the morning and record into tomorrow night and then go to bed Thursday.
He's very funny tonight, isn't he? He's on form tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, he's getting better.
Do you know,
No, I think, Tom, after your spot, I think we're going to wrap it up and say our goodbyes.
Yeah, we've got sleeping bags just behind this desk here.
Really? You're staying there?
We might have to. No, I'm only kidding. No, I can't take much more. I'm losing the will to live. It's funny, isn't it, when it's quite demoralising, this, because
remember in Alaska, if you look at the United States, there are 4 time zones and 5 if you count Hawaii. So it goes East Coast, then Central, which is like the South, Florida, Texas, then Mountain, which is like Colorado, Arizona, and then Pacific Northwest, which is Idaho, California, Washington, Oregon, Canada, and then it gets to Alaska. So we're 4 hours behind. Then Hawaii's makes it 5 hours from Hawaii to the East Coast, and so for us, it's a little after 8 p.m. Guess what happened here? Our polls closed. So you guys are going to bed. My clients and I are all excited to hear what happens locally for our city, for our state, for our U.S. Senate. You know, you guys don't care, but we.
Yeah. Hypothetical question here: if this does squeakily go to Biden. And the president does what he says that he's going to do, which is basically throw it into court and try to argue the case. Are you going to support that, or are you just going to go with the result as called by the Electoral College?
Well, that's hard to answer until I see what happens tomorrow. I mean, I'm probably just going to go with what the result is.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because you don't want it going crazy. I think at the end of the day, they've got. I think the hardest thing here is if it's the other way round. I mean, there's going to be an implosion on the Democrats' side. And don't get me wrong, it's not like they're completely powerless and wiped out. They've still got the House.
No.
And the Senate became close, but no CR.
Well, did the African-American guy in Michigan win? The one that lost governor is now, they say that's a close one, right?
Yeah, I've not got that figure to hand.
That's a biggie because the Democrat is the incumbent there.
Yeah, Gary Peters. I know. Well, as you know, they lost Alabama, but that was no shock because they shouldn't have really won it. I mean, if they hadn't put Roy Moore in, it wouldn't have stood a chance. It's Alabama, for God's sake. That's what I mean. It's the flavour of the country. These places should be able to peacefully coexist, and there shouldn't be all this mither and hatred. But I mean, that's what I think. Are you going to put, if he does win, but he only squeaks in, you guys and your friends and everybody else, you should be putting a lot of pressure on here to look, this was very close. Do we want another 4 years of battling every 5 minutes over stuff? I mean, I want to see that country.
Well, Lindsey Graham, you should have watched that. He complimented the opponent, said he's a good dad, he's a good husband, he's going to places. I'm going to try to include him in my deliberations and his supporters so we're more inclusive. Then he said, on a broader macro analysis, the Democrats spending money from California and New York really failed in their ROI, their return on investment, for how much they spend in Alaska.
It's a disaster. Tom, it's a disaster. With the amount of money spent, he outraised Trump 3-1 during the remaining weeks of the campaign. The spend on advertising for the Democrats outstripped this. If this was based on advertising spend, again, this is another reason why this is so shocking. Because you can't spend that amount of money and get such a poor result. So let's look at this. Trump was encumbered with the COVID. He had all these problems. There's the Black Lives Matter that's going on all over the place, and a lot of people are perceiving him to be, it doesn't matter your opinion on this, some people perceive him to be racist about it and not understanding. It seemed he had everything going against him. Whereas the Democrats had 3-1 advertising spend. They had the public support with the Black Lives Matter. They had everything else. He had a clean start with COVID, whereas Biden could say quite rightly, well, I've not been dealing with COVID, I can do it better. So he had that coming in clean on that. And then to make it worse, and this is the worst part, he had some defectors from your guys form the Lincoln Project that was campaigning on behalf of Biden. You had former Republicans turning up at the Democratic convention. I mean, pardon my French, but how much fucking help did Biden need? And he still messed it up. Even if he won by 2 votes, now he's still messed it up, in my opinion.
And his statesmanship kind of collided. And so I think it's going to be tomorrow that we learn. I may be wrong. I mean, again,
I agree with you. I agree with you. No, we can agree on that.
And I look, what time is it? It's 12:28 in the East Coast. It's 8:28 here. Remember, we're 4 hours behind. It's 7:28 a.m. in Hawaii, p.m. 8:28 p.m. here, and 12:28 p.m. in New York. And then for you guys, it's the morning. Everyone's getting up there, right?
Yeah, well, I never get up at this time. It's 5:30, but there's plenty of nights. There's plenty of times I'm going to bed at this time. But then again, I've had a leisure company with nightclubs. I'm running a magazine that worked on a lot of American times with the news, and I'm just a weird person.
You're up late.
I'm up all night. Yeah. Sleep in, start at midday, but
Is this a story about your personal life in this show, or is it about politics?
we're just having a chat, Well, oh, good God, can't have salvaged
you want to put Paul to sleep? Keep talking about your life from DNA up to this afternoon.
Well, I go to bed at 10:30. I thought I'd just throw that in. Does that help the matter?
It's not just when you go to bed or when you get up. It's what you do when you're up.
That's very true. So why are you going on about it so much? Nevada will not expect to be posted until 12:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Right.
Hence that why
so that's soon.
Right.
It's going
to be guys, we can regroup. I look forward to talking with you again. We can sit and analyze it. It's more fun to analyze. I mean, I predict Pennsylvania and Ohio Trump. I think Michigan, Trump. I think Wisconsin, Biden, but I hope Trump. We heard Idaho, strike that. Iowa and Idaho went to Trump. Nevada's a big deal. So we will see with Wisconsin and Nevada.
Nevada's a tough one. I mean, Nevada, the
score on the doors at the moment,
2-2-3
to Biden and 1-4-5 to Trump.
Yeah, but what's been declared on that? Is that just Florida or Texas and Florida?
No, they've got to come yet.
Oh, Christ.
No, right now, if you go to Fox News, it's 227 to 210.
Yeah, well, they're getting grief for declaring that.
And Georgia's going to go to Trump. That'll make it 226 to 227. And North Carolina will go to Trump. That'll make it, now it's 237, 210. Yeah. But I think that you're going to see Pennsylvania. Ohio went to Trump. Yeah. You're going to see Michigan. Let me see.
Pennsylvania's going to Trump. Pennsylvania's
going to Trump. So
Michigan
goes to and Pennsylvania goes to Trump. That's 36, and then North Carolina and Georgia's 31. That's 67. Well, he would get it. And then with Nevada and Wisconsin, Montana goes to Trump. I think Trump's going to win.
Yeah. There's a very good chance that's the case.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
unless Pennsylvania goes to Biden, then we're definitely lose.
Well, Pennsylvania is not going to Biden. I can tell you that now. I mean, that's been solid. I mean, the thing you've got to watch with these as well is the fluctuation, because you'll get to a critical mass, and then that distance is impossible to come back from, and it's too far gone. There's too far gone. Pennsylvania is Trump, in my opinion. I think.
Yeah, see right here, I'm looking. It says Alaska's 3. Remember, Trump needs 60. Yeah. Alaska's 3. Everyone I name is Trump. So he has 210. He needs 60. Yeah. 3 is Alaska. Georgia's 16. That's 19. North Carolina's 15. That's 29. 34. Yeah. Remember, he needs 60. Pennsylvania's 20. That's 54. Michigan is 16. That's 70. So I mean, if he and then Montana's 3. That's 73. Yeah. If he loses Nevada and Wisconsin, which is 16, Biden has 256. I don't know how Biden gets it. If we get Montana, Alaska, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, I mean, I don't know how Biden wins.
No. I know.
We agree with it.
Why don't we leave it at that? Then you guys can sleep and assume Trump wins, and if he doesn't, then there was some shockers while you slept.
Well, I don't see. Yeah, there's a lot of what you're saying there that I can't argue with. I mean, Montana, you're only halfway through with Montana, but there's about a 6% lead, so it's a tough one. I don't know. Well, I mean, it's impossible to call it.
Talk to you again, and we can regroup in coming weeks. Definitely. I'm going to get back to my Alaskan assessment with my clients here. And I'm hoping that our one U.S. Senator, Dan Sullivan, and our one Congressman, Don Young, both Republicans and incumbents, win. And I think they will. So that's good for Alaska.
Yeah.
And remind people again, Tom, remind people before you go about your radio show.
Yes, thank you. It's at tomandersonshow.com. It's on Alaska time, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. And what I would appreciate, all of your kindness, even if there's one person listening or thousands, if you could like my Facebook page. I'm almost at 12,000 likes. And if you could subscribe to my new YouTube channel and ring that bell. And Paul knows, Paul's going to actually talk with me on some strategies on that. Yeah. We do some very nice videos. I'm shelling out a lot of dough. It's not for the income. It's for you to watch Senator Ted Cruz or Paul and Mike or others on the video. And so to be blunt, I'm spending a lot of money. I wish someone would watch it.
Well, see, I always knew you had a lot of money. It's
but I mean, Ted Nugent's coming, Sheriff David Clark, Sarah Palin. I want people to watch it.
Yeah.
Tom, take care, mate.
Definitely.
Good night, you guys.
We'll see you soon.
Hey, good night, Pac-Man. It's my Pac-Man.
Oh, good Lord.
Good night, guys.
It doesn't change, does it? Good night. Good night. And that's where we will be. Well, we'll round up now, aren't we?
Pretty much.
It's looking like Trump. Yeah, to me, I said before.
I don't see.
It's looking like Trump.
If the count had carried on in some of these states, I would have been happy to call it in about an hour or two. But at the moment, I've got to say, Nevada is looking horrific. That is the one that he needs to win, and you've got to look at this now.
Well, you can't count Nevada because at the moment too early into. I mean,
it may be too early.
2% of votes counted.
It's 2% of votes counted. I get it, but it's you are looking here at it was taken by Obama by 13%, 7% in his second term, and last year with Trump, the last election, 2016, with Trump and that slide to him, the Democrats still took it by 2%. This should have been a cakewalk, and so many of these states should have been. This is an unmitigated disaster for the Democratic Party. They fucked it up again. They manipulated the situation to their own ends. The entire establishment and leadership of the Democratic Party in the United States needs to resign after this, even if there was a fluke at this point and they managed to get a victory against Trump and some of these vote counts now swung the other way. You have messed this up, something chronic. If you can't win with all those Republican senators, all that money, all these dead people with COVID hanging around the president's neck, you have let everybody down. And can I just say, there's going to be a lot of people die, because if I'm right, I get it, Tom may not agree, there may be other people with different points of view, I'm just giving you mine. My point of view is that the way that Trump is dealing with COVID alone, irrespective of everything else, which there's a catalogue of stuff I could go into, but I don't want to do that at 25 to 6 a.m. I feel that COVID alone, it's a disaster, because he is going to go for herd immunity. He's going to sack Fauci. He's now been validated as well. Yeah. So this kind of course behaviour that we all find a bit abhorrent, occasionally borderline monstrous, is now going to be vindicated. Even it's slim, and I get it, and Tom's right, it still shows a massively divided country, but I can tell you now that people won't be as magnanimous as Tom. Tom is being nice about that, whereas I think the Trump supporters will be like, it's one simple thing they're going to say, 2 words: we won. We won. We won.
And maybe a raised finger as well.
Yeah, and they will be a raised finger with the we won. And you will empower militias. You will empower all these people that have been horrendous and behaving in such reprehensible manners. It's untrue. This is incredible to me that this amount of money could be spent on this. You could go in with all that ahead in the polls. All this. This was the Democratic Party's race to lose, and boy does it look like they, even if they won now by a really narrow margin, this is an embarrassment. It's a fucking embarrassment. And you guys, any of you there in America that are connected with the leadership of this party, you fucked up. And that's the only way of putting it. And I'm sorry about the terminology. There's no other way of putting it. You guys there messed this up, something chronic. You had this in the bag. You had everything going for you. All that support, all that money. You even had Republicans helping you to get rid of the guy. And you managed to fuck it up like a bunch of fucking clowns.
And on that note, we shall say goodbye. We'll see you next Thursday evening, 9 o'clock UK time.
Yeah.
Join the Mancunian Candidates.
Yeah.
Join us on Twitter as well.
Yeah.
It's M_candidates.
Yeah.
We say, yeah, like that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just, yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah. For the post-mortem.
Post-mortem.